Hi, I basically this in this advanced database project I am aiming to build one gizmo accommodation system. It consists of both SQL and NoSQL part. So right now I'm explaining the SQL schema. So here we have a user table in which we have like four columns, basically name, email, password, and role. So the role is the student can sorry the user can register as student or seller or admin. So if once the user registers as seller, for example, we can create an accommodation. They can create as many accommodations as they want. Once the accommodation is created, the verification request is triggered. So for one accommodation, only one verification request is there. So for that, like I am using that, I'm not creating the verification table as such. I'm using the trigger for creating the verification request. So once the verification request is created, it shows pending, and then the admin updates the verification request, and this table is basically the rental transaction table. So the rental transaction table has so basically the rental transaction table means that like when the student occupies the accommodation status changes from the available to the rented. So for this, like I have created the rental transaction, so it tracks for example, in one accommodation how many students have rented that accommodation. So it tracks basically that. So for that I have created this accommodation table. And now this is the MongoDB structure. So in this, like we have the three basic collections. First one is the address, which has fields like ID, accommodation ID. The accommodation ID is getting stored from the accommodation that was created by the user. Then we have the street address, postal zone, like for example the zone A, B, or C, and the country. Um, and the accommodation comments, for example, the user can post their comments in the accommodation. It will have an accommodation ID, and and the timestamp, and they can add the review also, like if they like the accommodation or not. And this is for tracking the visitors, like for example how many people visited the particular accommodation. So now I will show the SQL background. So this is my file structure. So here this is for creating database, and this, if you can see, it is for creating the tables. And then this is a trigger file. So basically what trigger is doing is, like for example, um, this trigger after the accommodation is created, this creates a verification request in the with that accommodation ID, seller status, and seller ID and status. So status basically it's created as pending. So this I can show here. So if I create a new accommodation, so we can see this accommodation has been created. So this is the accommodation that was created. So now if we see, one verification request will also be created with this accommodation ID. So we can see this has a pending status. So basically so verification request has been created in the backend using the trigger. And now I have like update and delete here. I'm creating a procedure so that like I can verify the seller, like for example if he's a genuine seller, so I can verify that. So if I do like this, for example, and here we have created with the 2 ID. So, so we can see this accommodation has been created with the 2 ID. So, so we can see this accommodation has been created with the 2 ID. So, so here we have created with the 2 ID. So, so here we have created with the 2 ID. So, so here we have created with the 2 ID. So, so here we have created with the 2 ID. So Sorry, I have to call this. So now if you check again, so you can see this is verified. um, so yeah, so this is it from the SQL part, and you can check the aggregate also, like we are finding the aggregate count, and like for example how many users have occupied that one particular accommodation and all that. So this is it, and then let's move to the new SQL part. So in the new SQL I have created a file system as like testing playground and the main database. This is the main database. So here if we can see, this is the testing playground. So this for example I have named the file as insert create collection. So here so what I'm doing is, like, if the collection already exists, I'm dropping the collection and I'm creating the new collection. So I will run this. So the collections have been created. We can also verify this. So three collections have been created. Now we can do the bulk insert. So there is like one file to insert the data. So we have inserted the data. So we can find that, for example, db dot. So this many comments have been created. So like this we can do that with the main file also. So only the database name is little different. For example, this is like called my accommodation system. Now I can show you the how I'm connecting with the MongoDB. So for this, like, I have created this application layer and I've pushed this to GitHub also. So I will run this. So basically, like, here also I'm using the same Gizmo playground which I was using, and this is my accommodation test database. um, so um, so I will create a post request with the accommodation and the seller ID. So so I will create this with the and then we have price here. So let me hit this API. Okay. So sorry, I was using a different field here. So basically this is a description field. So when we hit this API, so we can see that now, like, our accommodation is created with the ID number 13. So we can check that in the database also. see it's created now, and we can see from the verification. So we have also one verification created with this ID. So we have we have a rental transaction also, so we can create that also. Let me create this with seller ID 2 and accommodation 13 that was just now created. So I think that is created now. Let me check that. So we have created that, if you can see here, and we can also check the accommodation. So if you see, the status has now changed to rented. So before, if you see here, it was available. So whenever we create this, it happened. So now we will see the comment, like we will try to create the comment. So I will create for the same accommodation that I have created. I will create one comment also. So let me check the fields. So we have accommodation ID and user ID and comment text. So also we have one review field. So let us now check that. Okay, I think, okay, sorry. So now the comment has been created with this accommodation ID that I just now created, and we can verify that. So we can see that the accommodation ID 13 and the comment that I just posted, it's created now here. So like this we can find the accommodation also. So this is basically the project. Thank you.